Hurting a Virgo is never a simple act, and those who make that mistake often discover that the consequences arrive faster than expected. Virgo is known for patience, kindness, and a willingness to help, which makes them appear as if they will always forgive, always endure, and always offer second chances. But beneath that soft and reliable exterior lies a hidden force that few see until it is too late. It is the force of karmic balance, the way the universe seems to align quickly whenever a Virgo is wronged. Their energy does not allow injustice to linger without consequence, and this is why to harm them is to invite swift lessons into your own life. Part of the reason is that Virgo carries a strong connection to truth. Their lives are built on honesty, service, and careful attention to detail, which means they live in alignment with universal laws more naturally than most. When someone crosses them, it is not just a personal betrayal, but also a disruption of a higher order. The cosmos itself seems to respond, correcting the imbalance with surprising speed. For some, this comes as sudden loss, for others, as deep regret. Either way, karma moves quickly, almost as if Virgo's very soul accelerates the process. But it would be a mistake to view Virgo as vindictive or vengeful. They rarely seek revenge because they do not need to. Their role is not to chase justice, but to embody it. They trust that the energy they give will return to them, and the energy others send will return just as swiftly. This quiet confidence is what makes them so powerful. While others waste time in battles, Virgo simply steps back, allowing the universal law of cause and effect to work on their behalf. This is why hurting a Virgo feels so different than hurting others. The consequences are sharper, the lessons harder, and the awareness that follows deeper. Their presence carries weight, their absence leaves an emptiness, and their boundaries activate karma in ways that cannot be ignored. And to understand why this happens, we must look at the first reason never to hurt a Virgo: their memory, precise and enduring, which ensures that nothing is ever truly forgotten. The first reason never to hurt a Virgo lies in their extraordinary memory, a gift that comes from their Mercury rulership. Virgo notices what others overlook, and nothing truly slips past their awareness. They may forgive, they may even smile and act as if everything has been restored, but deep inside they keep a record. This is not a list of grudges meant for revenge, but a catalog of truth that protects them from being deceived again. Their memory is sharp, precise, and enduring, and this is why anyone who harms them will always face accountability sooner or later. Unlike those who forget after apologies, Virgo recalls the exact tone of a word spoken in anger, the subtle expression that revealed betrayal, the tiny inconsistencies in a story that didn't quite add up. They replay moments in their mind, analyzing them with clarity, until they understand the deeper meaning. This ability makes it impossible to truly lie to them. They see the patterns, they catch the details, and once they know the truth, it becomes part of how they navigate the relationship. To hurt them is to create an indelible mark in their mental archive. This memory is karmic in nature. It holds others accountable even when no confrontation happens. Virgo does not need to scream or fight to make their point. Their silence alone becomes a mirror in which people eventually see themselves. The universe seems to conspire with Virgo's recall, making sure that the person who hurt them is faced with the weight of their actions through unexpected lessons. Many who have crossed a Virgo later describe feeling as though they couldn't escape their own choices, as though life itself kept replaying their mistakes until they understood. But Virgo's memory is not only protective, it is also deeply compassionate. They remember acts of kindness, small gestures of care, and genuine words as vividly as they recall betrayal. This is why their love feels so nourishing, because they hold on to the good with equal strength. Yet the very depth that makes their affection so powerful also makes their hurt unforgettable. And when their patience runs out, that memory transforms from gentle recollection into a wall of truth. It is this wall that marks the first step in Virgo's karmic defense. Their memory ensures that no act of harm is dismissed and no betrayal is erased. From here, their silence becomes more than quiet. it becomes a spiritual test, a space where karma begins to move even faster. Virgo's memory does more than protect them. It becomes a spiritual test for those who choose to cross them. While other signs may erupt in immediate anger or confrontation, Virgo often responds with silence, withdrawing into observation. This silence is not weakness, it is deliberate. It creates space for reflection, a pause in which the person who caused harm is left to face their own actions without distraction. In that quiet distance, karma begins to unfold, and the lessons that follow are often sharper than any spoken retaliation. The precision of Virgo's recall transforms their silence into a mirror. People who have hurt them are forced to confront the details of what they did, because Virgo does not need to remind them with words. Instead, the absence of Virgo's warmth, attention, and patience becomes the reminder. It is as though their withdrawal awakens something inside the other person, a gnawing awareness that refuses to fade. This is why karma seems to move quickly around them. The weight of truth becomes unavoidable, amplified by their refusal to cover it with noise. There is a kind of justice in this process. Virgo does not seek revenge because they know it is unnecessary. They embody trust in universal law, knowing that energy returns in its proper form. Their silence, then, is not punishment, but alignment. It allows the natural order of cause and effect to move unimpeded, and those who wronged them often feel the sting of regret long before Virgo ever speaks again. This is why people describe losing a Virgo as more painful than any argument. It is not the words they say, but the words they no longer offer. It is not the confrontation, but the absence. The sudden void where once there was steady kindness feels heavier than anger, and that weight awakens karmic awareness with startling speed. Virgo's memory, coupled with their silence, becomes a spiritual crucible. It refines the intentions of others, exposing whether relationships were built on truth or illusion. Those who harmed them discover the cost of dishonesty or disrespect, while those who honored them feel the blessings of loyalty magnified. This spiritual test marks the transition from memory into the next reason never to hurt a Virgo. Their iron boundaries, which once set, are unbreakable and final. The second reason never to hurt a Virgo is their boundaries, which may begin soft and flexible but become iron once crossed. Virgo is generous by nature, willing to give time, effort, and care without hesitation. They open their hearts and their schedules to support others, often sacrificing their own needs to create stability for those around them. But this generosity is not endless. When someone abuses their kindness or repeatedly disrespects their efforts, Virgo draws a line that cannot be erased. That line becomes a boundary, and once it is set, there is no going back. At first, people may not even notice this boundary forming. Virgo tends to withdraw quietly, reducing the energy they give in subtle ways. The phone calls grow shorter, the availability shrinks, the patience thins. These are not punishments, but signals, warnings that something has shifted. Yet many ignore these signs, believing that Virgo will continue to tolerate mistreatment forever. It is only when the final wall rises that the reality becomes undeniable. Suddenly, the Virgo who once carried the weight of others disappears from reach, leaving silence in their place. This withdrawal shocks people because it feels permanent. Unlike temporary anger that fades with apologies, Virgo's boundaries, once cemented, are rarely lowered. They do not need to announce it with drama or rage. They simply stop allowing access to the parts of themselves that were once open. Their iron boundary becomes a door closed, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And behind that door, they protect their peace with unwavering strength. Karma moves swiftly in these moments. Those who abused Virgo's patience often find themselves feeling the void of their absence more intensely than they expected. The loss of Virgo's stability, wisdom, and quiet care creates imbalance, and the universe seems to magnify that absence until the lesson is learned. What felt like small acts of disrespect now return with amplified weight, teaching the cost of taking a generous soul for granted. These boundaries reveal one of Virgo's greatest truths. Kindness is sacred, and it cannot be wasted endlessly. By cutting ties, they allow both themselves and the other person to face karmic consequences that were inevitable. And from this point, the lesson deepens further. For when Virgo does choose to speak, their words transform into truth so sharp that they leave no room for illusion. Virgo's boundaries are not walls of cruelty, but shields of protection, and once they are in place, they become instruments through which karma moves with astonishing speed. Unlike other signs who may shut people out in bursts of emotion, Virgo does it with clarity and intention. They do not slam doors, they close them quietly, in a way that feels final. This stillness carries more power than rage, because it signals that they are no longer interested in negotiation. And once Virgo decides that someone no longer has access to their energy, the universe itself seems to echo that decision. What many discover after crossing a Virgo is how heavy their absence feels. The person who once held space for every conversation, who offered solutions in times of confusion, who gave stability when life was chaotic, suddenly, they are gone. The emptiness left behind acts as an immediate karmic response, forcing the other person to confront the value they lost. It is not Virgo who delivers punishment. It is life itself rearranging to show the consequences of betrayal. This is because Virgo's boundaries are rooted in spiritual alignment. By refusing to allow disrespect to continue, they restore balance not only within themselves, but also in the energy around them. Their boundary becomes a declaration to the universe. I choose truth over illusion. And the universe responds by revealing to others what that choice means. Those who treated Virgo poorly begin to feel the weight of imbalance, often in the form of regret, miscommunication, or even sudden challenges that mirror the harm they caused. There is also a paradox here. Virgo's boundaries can feel harsh to those on the outside, but they are deeply compassionate acts for themselves. To continue allowing harm would mean betraying their own soul. By stepping away, they preserve their peace and reclaim their dignity, and in doing so, they invite the other person to learn through experience rather than words. It is a silent but powerful teaching. And so, while Virgo's boundaries may be invisible at first, once they crystallize, they reshape the dynamic forever. What was once taken for granted is now gone, and what was once overlooked becomes clear in hindsight. This is the karmic force of Virgo's withdrawal, and it leads directly into the next reason not to harm them. The way their words, when finally spoken, become truth swords sharp enough to cut illusions at their core. The third reason never to hurt a Virgo is the power of their words, which transform into truth swords when provoked. Most of the time, Virgo communicates with care, offering advice that is thoughtful and healing. They know how to choose words that comfort, words that guide, and words that bring clarity in confusion. But this same Mercury-ruled gift can become devastating when they decide to use it as a weapon. Virgo rarely raises their voice or lashes out impulsively. Instead, they deliver truth with precision, and it cuts more deeply than anger ever could. What makes their words so powerful is that they are rooted in observation. Virgo does not speak without reason. They watch, they analyze, and they gather details before ever confronting someone. By the time they decide to say something, their knowledge is sharp, undeniable, and unshakable. When they finally unleash their thoughts, it is with accuracy that others cannot deflect. Their critiques sting not because they are exaggerated, but because they are true. The mirror they hold up shows reality so clearly that denial becomes impossible. This ability to speak with surgical clarity often changes relationships in an instant. A single sentence from Virgo can shift dynamics forever. The friend who ignored their loyalty is suddenly confronted with a truth they can't escape. The partner who betrayed trust hears the one phrase that exposes everything they tried to hide. The coworker who underestimated them is brought face to face with the reality of their own behavior. Virgo's words do not just correct, they awaken. Karma moves swiftly through this gift, because Virgo's words are aligned with truth rather than impulse. they carry spiritual weight. They act as catalysts, pushing others into self-reflection they may have avoided for years. Some resist and grow defensive, but the seed of truth remains planted. Others realize immediately that Virgo's words are not cruelty, but a call to accountability. Either way, life begins to echo the message, repeating it until the lesson is understood. This is why underestimating Virgo is dangerous. Their silence may be long, their patience may seem endless, but when they finally decide to speak, their words carry a finality that shifts energy permanently. And yet, as powerful as their voice is, there is something even more unsettling: their silence itself. For when Virgo chooses not to speak at all, that void becomes louder than anything words could express. Virgo's words can change lives, but their silence carries a karmic weight that is even greater. When they decide to stop speaking, to withdraw completely from confrontation, it is never an act of weakness. It is an act of power. Their silence is not empty. It is filled with meaning, reflection, and an unspoken truth that cannot be escaped. Many people discover too late that Virgo's quiet is louder than any outburst, because in that silence, the universe itself seems to begin speaking. What makes their silence so piercing is the contrast. Virgo is usually attentive, responsive, and willing to communicate. They offer advice, share perspectives, and engage with depth. When that voice disappears, it creates a void that others feel instantly. The absence of their words becomes its own message, a mirror forcing people to hear their own thoughts echo back without Virgo's guidance to soften them. This is where karma moves fast, filling the space with lessons that feel sharp and unavoidable. In relationships, this silence often becomes the moment of awakening. The person who once relied on Virgo's patience suddenly realizes that the line has been crossed. Without anger, without explanation, Virgo steps back, and the other is left alone with the consequences of their actions. That absence burns more than harsh words ever could, because it signals that Virgo no longer sees value in continuing the exchange. Their silence becomes the closing of a door that few can reopen. This trait also reveals the depth of Virgo's spiritual alignment. They understand that sometimes saying nothing allows the truth to speak louder than any argument. By refusing to engage in endless cycles of conflict, they let karma take its course. Their silence acts like an invitation for the universe to step in, delivering justice in ways that words never could. And the impact is unforgettable. Those who once dismissed Virgo's patience now feel the weight of losing it. Those who thought Virgo would always be available learn that even the most dependable soul has limits. The stillness they leave behind echoes with karmic correction, reminding others of the cost of their choices. This is why Virgo's silence is not emptiness, but power, a spiritual act that awakens accountability. And from here, the lesson deepens. For their silence is not only a reaction, but also a reset, one that accelerates karma and forces reflection on a level that changes everything. The fourth reason never to hurt a Virgo is that their silence becomes a force of karma in motion, louder and heavier than any anger could ever be. Silence for Virgo is not avoidance. It is a deliberate act, a choice to step back and allow universal law to move freely. While others may shout, argue, or try to prove their point, Virgo understands that silence often teaches more than words. When they withdraw into quiet, they are not ignoring the situation. They are amplifying it. The weight of what they are not saying becomes impossible to escape. This silence has the power to create an energetic void. People who once relied on Virgo's constant support feel the absence like a missing heartbeat. The sudden lack of advice, reassurance, and stability forces them to confront themselves. Without Virgo's steady presence, insecurities rise, mistakes become clearer, and the truth that was once softened by Virgo's patience is now harshly illuminated. In this way, their silence accelerates the karmic lesson because it denies others the comfort of distraction. What makes this silence so profound is that it is not meant to punish. Virgo is not interested in petty games. Instead, They know that sometimes the most compassionate act is to let people feel the consequences of their choices without interference. Silence becomes a mirror, showing others what they created, magnified by the absence of Virgo's balancing energy. For many, this is when regret arrives, sharp and undeniable, because they finally see the value of what they lost. Karma responds quickly to this choice, because Virgo's silence aligns with truth. By not engaging in drama or conflict, they keep their energy clean, and in doing so, they allow the universe to act without resistance. Those who caused harm often find themselves experiencing sudden shifts, arguments with others, feelings of isolation, or unexpected challenges, all reflections of the imbalance they created. Virgo does not need to orchestrate any of it. Their silence is enough to set the process in motion. And yet, this silence is not always permanent. It can serve as a reset, a pause in which lessons are learned and balance restored. But once Virgo decides their quiet is final, the door closes for good. At that point, silence becomes the last word, and karma continues the story. This is why their quiet is so powerful. It is not absence but transformation, and it leads directly into the deeper truth of how silence functions as a complete karmic reset. Silence for Virgo is more than a withdrawal. It is a karmic reset. When they stop speaking, when they choose distance instead of conflict, they are not abandoning the situation blindly. They are resetting the balance, removing their energy from dynamics that no longer honor truth. This absence is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and infused with the quiet force of universal law. By stepping back, Virgo allows the lesson to unfold, not only for themselves, but for the one who caused harm. This reset can feel immediate. The person who once had access to Virgo's time, attention, and patience suddenly finds themselves facing their own reflection. Without Virgo's grounding influence, chaos often rises, misunderstandings multiply, inner restlessness grows, and the clarity that Virgo once provided is missed more than ever. The silence creates a vacuum, and nature does not allow a vacuum to stay empty for long. Karma rushes in to fill the space, often with lessons sharp enough to break denial and force awareness. For Virgo, this reset is sacred. They know that not everything deserves a reaction, and not every wound can be healed with words. Silence becomes their way of aligning with their higher self, protecting their peace while trusting that the universe will do what is just. In this way, their silence is not avoidance, it is faith. It is the belief that truth always reveals itself, even without their intervention. And for those who wronged them, that faith manifests as life delivering the lessons Virgo no longer needs to speak. This karmic reset often awakens deep regret in others. People suddenly realize the weight of Virgo's presence, the way they held stability, and the depth of their loyalty. When that is gone, the absence itself becomes the teacher. For some, the silence is temporary, a chance to reflect, learn, and rebuild with more honesty. For others, it is final, a door that closes forever, leaving only the echo of what was lost. This is why Virgo's silence is feared as much as their sharp words. It is not only the end of communication, it is the beginning of karmic correction. And as the reset unfolds, it leads naturally into the conclusion of their lesson. To respect a Virgo is to respect the law of karma itself, for to hurt them is to invite swift and undeniable consequences. To hurt a Virgo is to invite karma directly into your life, and the reasons have unfolded clearly. Their memory holds every detail, their boundaries harden into iron, their words strike with surgical truth, and their silence echoes louder than rage. Each of these traits carries its own weight, but together they create a pattern that the universe seems eager to reinforce. Virgo does not need to seek revenge or demand justice because the energy they embody ensures that balance is restored swiftly. Karma moves fast in their orbit, and those who cross them often learn this lesson in ways they never anticipated. What makes Virgo so powerful is that all of these responses are rooted not in malice, but in integrity. Their memory is not about clinging to pain, but about honoring truth. Their boundaries are not about cruelty, but about self-respect. Their sharp words are not about humiliation, but about awakening. And their silence is not about abandonment, but about alignment with universal law. Each action reflects their deeper purpose: to protect their own peace while allowing others to face the consequences of their choices. This is why the presence of a Virgo should never be taken lightly. To be close to them is to experience stability, clarity, and loyalty unlike any other. They are the quiet supporters who notice the small things, the patient listeners who hold space for others, the practical guides who bring order where there is chaos. Their kindness is profound, but it is not naive. It is strength disguised as gentleness, and when disrespected, that strength reveals itself in ways that are both shocking and unforgettable. The lesson, then, is not only about avoiding harm toward Virgo, but about understanding the sacred balance they represent. They are reminders that kindness has limits, that patience must be honored, and that boundaries are acts of love as much as protection. To respect Virgo is to respect karma itself, for their energy aligns so closely with universal order that mistreating them is like trying to bend the laws of truth. And those laws always bend back. So the message is clear: honor Virgo's kindness, and you will find yourself uplifted by their loyalty and wisdom. Cross them, and you will face the swift correction of karma, sometimes through their words, sometimes through their silence, but always with undeniable force. Respect the Virgo, respect the balance, and respect the speed with which the universe responds when they are wronged.